Hello, welcome to Glendale Today. I'm Councilmember Sammy Chavira, and I represent residents living in the Yucca District, located in the southwestern part of Glendale. This year's Super Bowl, hosted by our city, was a tremendous success in large part due to the countless city staff members and volunteers who dedicated several years of planning and preparation to guarantee a never-forgotten experience to those visiting Glendale. I want to say thank you to everyone who made this event another successful one. I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight the great economic impact and media attention to Glendale and the entire state as a result of hosting the big game and big events. In addition to the media attention, Glendale also benefited from sales tax and community development fees. The weekend between the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl provided endless opportunities for Glendale businesses to showcase their specialties to out-of-town visitors and local residents as well. To further discuss the great success of all these events, I've asked Jean Moreno of Economic Development to be my guest. Jean, along with Sam McCallan, were both charged with leading the City of Glendale Planning Committee for Pro Bowl and Super Bowl. Unfortunately, Sam cannot be with us here today. Later in the show, my guests are Assistant Police Chief Matt Lively and Assistant Fire Chief Krista Chan, who will share with us the role that public safety plays with these types of events. Jean, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Jean, tell us about your roles in the planning of these events and how long prior to these events did the planning begin? I know it was a long time out.
Yes, thank you so much. So Sam and I were actually asked to lead the organizational planning for the Super Bowl back in August of 2013. Basically, our roles consisted of putting together an operational team that represented 12 core areas of the city, and it has about 25 members on that team. And so that team together was responsible for ensuring that the city's obligations were met as it related to the bid requirements, and then also ensuring that we had appropriate outreach with our key stakeholders and our business community to ensure that everyone had a positive fan experience while they were enjoying these events in our city.
And how can you not have a positive experience? Jean, tell us about some of the projected economic impacts provided to the city that came from hosting the Super Bowl.
So in 2008, the Arizona Super Bowl Host Committee conducted an economic impact analysis, and they projected a $500 million economic impact to the state of Arizona. So for the 2015 game, they are expecting a similar impact, but potentially more. This particular event, the Super Bowl alone, attracts about 100,000 visitors to our state. And when you look at the Super Bowl from our perspective, Super Bowl is really a tourism event. And so the overall impact that tourism has on our state is significant. The Arizona Office of Tourism conducts significant studies, and it shows all of the impacts from whether it's temporary jobs, permanent jobs, the employee spending, etc. So Super Bowl itself will have a significant economic impact in Arizona.
It is, by rights, it's truly a Super Bowl. I mean, when it came here, it brought just so much attention and life to our city and state. Jean, can you talk about some of the opportunities that Super Bowl provided for our small businesses?
Absolutely. So the Arizona Super Bowl Host Committee offered a program called Business Connect, and the purpose of that program was to connect the local business community with NFL vendors, sponsors, and their affiliates in order to ensure that the local businesses had an opportunity to showcase their goods and services to the NFL. And it also is a mission of the NFL to engage the local communities to provide that opportunity. So we had about 20 businesses in Glendale that signed up and were accepted into that program. In addition, our downtown businesses benefited from having the signature city event, the Chocolate Affair, along with the Super Bowl that weekend. And so what that did is it provided an opportunity to expand our programming, to actually do some additional programming with the super streets. So the streets were actually decorated in the team colors, and so it really livened up an already very popular and very successful signature festival. And we did that in 2008 as well, and it was again successful again in 2015.
There's no doubt that the impact was positive and widespread. Jean, leading up to the Super Bowl, in addition to the Chocolate Affair, what other events took place? Of course, the unusual weather was a concern, which didn't seem to impact the attendance at all. Tell us about those things.
You're absolutely right. The weather did not stop anything, and I was actually surprised about that. But So two key signature activities that took place in the Sports and Entertainment District were the free Westgate Entertainment District concert series, which was fantastic. They had great national headliners for that event. It was a wonderful opportunity for the local residents to take part in the Super Bowl festivities without being able to go to the games. In addition, we had a fantastic opportunity this year for a signature initial event with DirecTV, and that was their 3-day Super Fan Fest. And this was it was an inaugural event for them. They had never done that event before. It was a fantastic success. The rain didn't stop people from coming, even though it was an outdoor festival. And so those were two of the signature events. But in addition, Tanger Outlets also hosted the Nike Speed Zone, which was that they had a fantastic turnout on Super Bowl Sunday. And that particular activity provided a family-friendly opportunity for fans to get autographs and to engage in some, throwing some footballs around and those types of things. And so it was a great opportunity. In addition, there were a multitude of private parties and events that took place in and around the area. There was also the Game Day Fan Plaza that was sponsored by the NFL.
That's right.
So they did a ton of build out, lots of fantastic opportunities. I don't know how many of our residents had an opportunity to get out there and see it, but it was phenomenal. It was packed. And not only on the game days, but also on the days leading up to the Super Bowl. And so much so that the foot traffic, the pedestrian traffic in the area was just phenomenal. People wanting to get out there and take their pictures, next to the stadium and walk around. And it was really an incredible experience.
Oh, it really was. And what really caught my attention was the amount of events were taking place, and not one event, whether it was a free event, a family event, or whether it was a paid or private event, not one of those events competed with each other or hampered anyone. Jean, the success of any organization is often related to the organization's brand. What kind of branding or marketing techniques did the city use, and how did these help improve Glendale's image?
The Glendale's marketing team had developed the Glendale's Got Game moniker several years ago as we started hosting these national events. And so this year, they came up with an excellent moniker, and it's called Super City, Super Game.
Which was very appropriate.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It tied into the original Glendale's Got Game, but it also provided an opportunity to just kind of freshen up the branding. And so that was one of the things that we did. In addition, part of Glendale's signature is just that exceptional level of customer service. And we rolled that out again this time. And so we did that with all of our NFL partners, but more importantly with our local partners and our local key stakeholders. And from my perspective, that is what's really important, is gathering the business community together and ensuring that together as a community that we're representing Arizona to the highest degree possible as we're hosting these national events.
Absolutely, because it's very important when you have an event of this magnitude to cross-market, and that's a language that you all understand, that everybody benefits, everybody. So, Jean, Development Services focuses heavily on planning, building, and code compliance. Now, how much planning and building actually took place?
So the build out for the Super Bowl and Pro Bowl was extraordinary. So in addition to all of the events and activities that took place outside of the stadium, there was also significant build out inside the stadium, from temporary media booths, temporary suites, and just a whole host of things that took place inside the stadium. In addition, outside the stadium, there were large tent structures that were used to house some of the parties that ranged up anywhere up to 400,000 square feet, which was huge. And so in addition to all of the things that took place in the Sports and Entertainment District, we also had the DirecTV build out.
Yes, ma'am.
And that build out was significant. Their primary tent alone was over 100,000 square feet, and then they had 6 different chalets that were just amazing, amazing structures. They also had the build out for the Rich Eisen and Dan Patrick shows, which was incredible.
Yes.
It looked like buildings, but it was actually tents.
Well, just the texture. I mean, just from bringing sod in, acres of sod. You had buildings that were made out of wood, made out of metal. I mean, you just had everything under the sun.
Absolutely, and all of those structures required inspections and permitting, required our fire marshal's office to go out and look to make sure that it was meeting fire codes, our building officials to look and make sure it was meeting our building codes. So it was a significant build out. A lot of effort and energy went into it to make sure that everyone who enjoyed those events stayed safe.
Oh, and obviously even just as impressive was building it is the takedown.
Absolutely.
So, Jean, tell us about any improvements that Glendale made to the city's infrastructure, permitting processes, etc., and how those improvements will benefit us in the future.
So one of the significant pieces of hard infrastructure that is different from 2008 was the Maryland overpass. So that was completed last year, and it was an expedited project. It was an ADOT project.
Talk about perfect timing.
Exactly,
Yes, yes,
exactly.
yes.
And it actually assisted with the flow of traffic for all of the events and activities, not just game day. So that is a significant piece of the infrastructure. On the permitting side, we have had expedited permitting and reviews in place for many years. Obviously, in this particular case, what we did is we were able to assign specific staff to address those key areas to make sure that we were providing a very high level of service for not only the businesses that were coming in to do their regular business at the counter, but also for these events and activities, so that we made sure that we were able to process things expeditiously.
Jean, were there any lessons that the city learned in regards to compliance that will improve the city's well-being when we host the College Football National Championship and the following year when the city hosts the men's NCAA Final Four basketball tournament?
I think from the compliance perspective, we have great processes and procedures in place. Everything can always stand room for improvement, but we have strong ordinances in place that will help us to ensure that we're able to address the bid requirements. I think the biggest lesson learned is very basic, and that's key stakeholder communication, teamwork, and problem solving is what is going to drive your success with any type of an event of this nature, and we have all of those things in place.
Absolutely, just like communication, outreach, things that your shop is very good at.
Absolutely.
Jean, I'll ask this same question of our next guest from the police and fire departments. While these mega events were in the planning process and taking place, how did we make sure that our residents continued to receive the high level of service they are accustomed to receive from the various Glendale departments, such as code, sanitation, streets, planning, tax and license, etc.?
Every person within the organization knows first and foremost that our citizens and our community are our #1 priority. And so while we have the benefit of having these wonderful venues in our community, we recognize that there's balance that has to take place. And so while we were very diligent, the reason why we were able to do it all is because we have a fantastic team of employees. And so we all knew what the end game was, and that is that the mega events and the Super Bowls and the Pro Bowls, they're wonderful drivers for our community, but at the end of the day, we're here to serve our citizens.
Absolutely.
And so we accomplished that.
And we have a great team. We
Absolutely.
truly do. Jean, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, I know how busy you are, to join me today and recap the excitement that came along with lots of hard work from everyone involved. While the final numbers are not in yet, I look forward to finding out the positive results that came from being a host for the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl. Jean, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.